In this video I'm going to show how the B-style guides that we use, our heavier cast iron guides, are assembled, disassembled, and then how we set the metering system to optimize the cutting force that we use. The guide is actually normally placed on the machine. There's no reason to remove the guide unless there's something broken on it. But to take the front plate off, you take off the 5/8 bolt, and this is also what you loosen up to change your blade. These set the carbide thickness for the blade, so these should really never be adjusted once they're set. There's also set screws on the sides that allow you to lock them in place so you don't adjust them. This plate comes off, a couple pins there, your carbides. These need to be cleaned periodically, especially when you change your blade. You typically just blow them off with shop air or coolant wash. This sits on there. They're spring loaded. They're using salon washers as a spring. And like I said before, the screws there set the gap between the blade and the carbides. Once that's removed, you have to remove the two socket head cap screws to remove the back carbides. I've already pre-loosened those, so when you pull these off, over time these could seize up on the pins that this thing sets on, and these are just dowel pins. If that happens, we also have set screws in the bottom that if you screw those set screws in, it'll press this off, and that's how you remove your back carbide block. This is fixed, there's no adjustment, it just bolts on there. At this point there's the carbide slipper that's down in here, and this is what the back of the blade rides on. And this is the metering system, kind of the start of the metering system. And so as the back of the blade runs on there, it also forces the metering valve to shut off. And I'll go through all that on the next video. But to remove this, because these will chip, they will break, it's real simple. There's a pin on the front. This pin just keeps it from dropping out so it can't fall out. But that pin just is usually just a drop-in fit. It's not a press fit. They will, however, over time get rusty, seize up, and then you can just grab them with vice grips or something and rotate them and pull them out. It also has a flat on them, so it's half milled off. This flat, when you put it back together, always has to face up, or in this case away from us. And that, what it does is it allows the spool to drop out that houses the 290 carbide slipper. Once this is apart, you can drive the tension pin out and replace the carbide. A lot of people don't understand that this pin has to come out before this piston comes out, and they'll try to drive it out and then they'll break this pin off. This isn't necessary to have when your guide is together. This guide keeps this from falling out. It can't come out. But once you take this off, then you can have a real mess. So you always want to try to pull this pin out first. Again, the pin fits in the slot so it can't come out. And that's all this is doing. It's just holding this spool in so when you take the carbides off, things don't blow apart. Metering valve is bolted onto the front with 4 1/4 bolts. We also have a felt washer that keeps the dust and chips and stuff out. And then there's a series of washers, a spacer, and shim washers to set the metering valve. And I'm going to show that in this other video here on how it all works and how to properly set them. So that's the disassembly of the B-style Series 2 metering valve guide system. And this is an 1.5-inch blade. Our 1.5-inch blade, our 2-inch blade, and our 2 5/8 all utilize the same guide, just more carbides. To put it back together, it's reverse order. This goes in there, pin goes in, flat side up. You know it's in because it can't come back out. Fat carbide, it can really only go one way. Socket head cap screws, half 13s. You can bring those up and tighten them. And then the full carbide assembly here fits on the pins, bolts together. Series 2 metering valve. We typically use the just a flat cut washer, a series of shims, and those will be explained in the next video. They go in there, a spacer, felt washer, and then the metering valve is put in place and bolted on. In this video I'm going to explain how our cutting force, our cutting head approach, feed control, and the metering system that this all controls, how it works, and the best explanation I can give, so you understand what's going on in the cut, what's the proper way to set them. The cutting force gauge is what you would consider how much pressure you're putting on the top of the blade to force the blade through the material you're cutting. Harder materials, you want a greater cutting force. Softer materials, you want a lighter cutting force. And then you'll have speed involved also, surface feet per minute of the blade.